the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today we have a very special guest all the way from Kentucky, and he's going to tell us our story. We actually met in Fort Lauderdale, but we have special guest Jack Bennings. Jack, welcome.
Thank you, Jaime. It's a pleasure being here. It's been fun being here, and it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, you've been here for 2 days now, and we're really grateful because we pulled you out of retirement.
Yes, you did.
We wouldn't have known because you look just as sharp as the last day I saw you, sharper than me. But we know you're enjoying retirement. And before we talk business, I want to hear about that. I want to hear about what is life after work.
Well, you bet. It's been enjoyable. I retired December of 2021 after 10 years with my employer down in South Florida. And I think as you approach retirement, you think, what am I going to do now? I mean, we were go when we were down in South Florida, and then relocating back to Kentucky where I grew up. I can still say y'all if I need to. My son, I've got two boys. My youngest son, he and his wife are professional horse trainers. So they are in Paris, Kentucky. And so they've got a 55-acre thoroughbred rescue horse farm that they will take thoroughbreds off the racetrack. A lot of times they're given to them so the horses can get another job, do something else, and they'll retrain them and resell them, or they will compete. So it's about 55 acres, beautiful country. It's in the midst of some of the thoroughbred racing horse farms, the 1,000 acres, 1,500 acres. One of the main horse farms from the Breeders' Cup is right around the corner from them. It's a beautiful area. They've got about 50 thoroughbreds, only two of them working. We convinced them to buy a Kubota tractor, thank God, because I could not bale 90 bales of hay like they did. And it's only, again, two of them. I mean, they work extremely hard. So they've got about 15 acres of just grass. So my lovely blonde-haired wife, Ms. Jan, and I are his lawn crew. So it's about anywhere 8 hours of pure on the bad boy mower, and it's about a 50-inch mower. We have a great time. It keeps us in good shape. We support what they're doing. It takes 8 hours that they don't have to work in that area because, again, their main focus, take care of the horses, train, ride. Chris has got clients in Louisville, Kentucky. Lexington is a beautiful area in the center of the state. Bluegrass, to say the least. We were glad to get back. My brother is back there. Jan's got two sisters that are up in the northern Kentucky area. So, you know, we're back home, so to speak. So, but it was glad to get back there, the center of the state. Being down in South Florida, you're limited on, I can't go up to Missouri unless I'm flying. So being in the center state is terrific. My oldest son is in just south of Kansas City. He's got 15 acres there. And when the grass grows, he calls Dad and said, hey, what are you doing next week? I've got a John Deere that's just calling your name. So we head out 9 hours on I-70 West. So, but it's great. We enjoy it. You know, you wonder sometimes, how do you keep busy when you're retired? You tend to get real busy, you know, just doing stuff, helping with the church. I got involved with the police academy in Georgetown, Kentucky. So to support those entities is critically important. My son in Kansas City is in law enforcement. He's a SWAT certified detective. He called me one night and he said, Dad, I just qualified to be a sniper. I'm going, oh God, please. But it's, you know, I respect what he does. I respect both of them. And it's interesting story on both of the boys. As we were talking, we'll talk a little bit about business. Both of them are not college graduates. Both of them are extremely successful in their craft, law enforcement. Brad was in the Coast Guard for 4 years. The Coast Guard and the military made him what he is today, and I am so thankful for that. Chris he started writing when he was in 6th grade and never quit. He's now happily married, 55 acres, thoroughbred horses all over the place. They just had our first grandchild, is a filly that's now about 6 months old, and she has the personality of Chris, which is hilarious because of the fact of he is such a cut up. So he deserves everything he gets.
Sounds like you're having a lot of fun in retirement, Jack. But before we move on to business, is it Kentucky called the Bluegrass State because the grass is blue or because of the music?
It's I think it's probably a combination of both. I know being down in South Florida, we always had the grass is so hard and so tough. It's like they always said it was like a weed. When we went back to Kentucky, the first thing that we always did, took our shoes off and walked in our bare feet. So maybe we're always rednecks or something. I don't know, but it's they got bluegrass music and the grass when it starts growing. I'm out cutting grass at least once a week, and it doesn't stop till late fall. So right now, this is a perfect time for me to come down here because the grass is not growing. Okay.
And I can picture you on that John Deere. I really can. But I know you're not wearing that suit, right?
No, not hardly. I have my other suit is jeans and boots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jack, thanks again for taking a break from the good life. And I'm so happy to see you enjoying a well-deserved retirement. I got to see you work hard in South Florida. But let's go there. When we met, you were working at the Greater Fort Lauderdale Economic Alliance. Mm-hmm. They are like the equivalent to our Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, or
Correct.
LVGEA. Of course, I was there with Perry Ursum, who is here with us today. You have gotten to see the podcast we did with Tina Quigley, my friend Tina, who's not just the president and CEO of the LVGEA, but also a member of the Workforce Connections Board. And as you learned over the past 2 days, a strong partner in how we're trying to align economic and workforce development. But tell us what you did at the Greater Fort Lauderdale Economic Alliance, because that inspired 2 positions here in our region.
Sure, I'm happy to do so. I was very fortunate. I come from a business background. That's been my whole business life. But what was interesting is I was hired by the Workforce Development Board called Career Source Broward. It is your workforce connections here in Nevada. And I was going to be outsourced to the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance as a representative of the Workforce Development Board to support the economic development activities within the Alliance. So my main focus really was to support the business development and to help them navigate through the workforce development issues that a company might have, whether they are in Broward County or if they're potentially talking about relocating to Broward County. I got actively involved with our permitting action team. We talked a little bit about that yesterday and how critically important it is to make permitting business friendly. And I think that Southern Nevada will take a look at that issue. But I was actively involved with our state training grants. So I was referred to as the money when we came to these meetings. We were active with the community. I was so fortunate to deal with many of the elected officials in these municipalities. They were so supportive of what we were doing, working with the business community. And I think as we came back out, and again 3 years ago, when Mason Jackson, God bless him, and I hope he's looking at this podcast.
Yes.
Mason called me and he said, Jack, one of my associates out of Nevada, a good friend of mine, Jaime Cruz, we wanted to have, they were asked to come to Fort Lauderdale and shadow you for 3 days. That was it. My mind just stopped at that point in time, and I thought, what am I going to do with these guys for 3 days? So after an initial introduction, I set up various different meetings for you guys to see really what I did. And certainly you met with a lot of the Alliance staff and so on to see some of the other functions of what our economic development organization was doing. And really how I tied in and supported many of these initiatives at the Alliance. But, we went on to some calls, had the opportunity to see, a small company that was looking at hiring 10 employees, to another one that was maybe taking a look at a training grant. And then, of course, I think the cherry on the cake was meeting with Bob Rossioli, good friend of mine, Rossioli Yachting Center, just a terrific first-class boat yard. Yep. South Florida is considered the boat yard repair capital of the world. And it just is, the marine industry does a phenomenal job, and it's one of the prime industries of certainly of South Florida. So I was so fortunate, and I had so much fun doing this because of the fact of the collaboration that we had with the educational institutions. I partner with Broward College a lot in the training programs and so on. But just having the opportunity to work with our municipalities, and they supported what we were doing. They would bring us into meetings and call me, say, Jack, I've got somebody that's looking at hiring. Come on out. I'd be there in a heartbeat. And it was great, extremely rewarding. So as we talked about that and to see 3 years ago what has come about it, I'm proud and hopefully that we did some right things in the right way. So I commend you guys for doing it. So it's a big commitment. We were the only ones in the state of Florida that did this out of our workforce boards. So tremendously successful. And I compliment Mason and Bob Swindell, the president and CEO of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, for doing this, because Mason always said it's hard to go into a company and say, I'm with the government and I'm here to help. So it's almost like an oxymoron. So he put me into this position. There were 2 other people prior to me, about 5 years each. I spent 10 years in this position. I was so fortunate to do that. And as Bob Swindell said when on my retirement event, so to speak, he said, you're the only one, I think, that's ever retired from the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. So that being said, I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyway.
No, that's really good. And I think, and I know Mason is watching. So Mason, I'm going to send you this link, so I know you're watching us. And so thank you for not just inspiring us to do this here in Southern Nevada, because you're right. We only have, besides Mason, we only found one other place where they were doing it. And so we, again, it's only one of the things I've learned from Mason over the years that I got to enjoy visiting him in Fort Lauderdale and meeting with him at NOB meetings in D.C. And so you absolutely are. You inspired us because of what we saw. We saw how the businesses appreciated the money, the resources that you were bringing to them, and how it augmented, complemented, and accelerated the economic development activities, supported them in your area. So here in Southern Nevada, we came back and again embedded a workforce expert into the LVGEA, the equivalent of your agency there, but also of the Vegas Chamber. And you've met them now. The Vegas Chamber is our largest chamber in the state, close to 5,000 members. You've met some of the folks that work at the chamber today. And so, it's been really fun to try to, if you will, replicate the level of success that I saw there. Our problem was that, back when we met you in late 2019, we didn't know what was coming in March of 2020, right?
None of us did. Huh?
Yeah, and so we were hampered, if you will. We all have been changed forever by the event of a worldwide pandemic, and here we are. But again, grateful that you came almost 3 years later to help us press the reset button, if you will, on this initiative, help us refan that original fire that lit, that you lit that time ago. And again, we hope that in a few months we'll be able to call you and say, your visit's already sparked us. We're making, we're fine tuning, making adjustments, and hopefully one day truly reach the level of success that you and Mason had in South Florida for all those years.
Good, great. Well, anything that I can do to help, I know Mason Mason was a real blessing. He was a visionary. It still is a visionary. He's a wealth of information. And I made the decision to move out of South Florida. Mason stayed, and I know that there are a lot of organizations that are pulling at Mason's coat strings because he's a wealth of information. Yeah. And a great guy, good friend.
And so, again, I know we've talked about it, but for our listeners and our audience, we've described that what you were doing in Fort Lauderdale and what we're trying to do here in Southern Nevada is bring these workforce resources that can be, we can connect employers that are both moving to Southern Nevada or growing in Southern Nevada to these no-cost workforce resources that helps the bottom line of their business. And so, again, that's just one more tool, one more benefit that the economic development folks have in their tool bag.
Sure. Yeah, it's, the opportunity to present to companies this massive resource, and I do say it's a massive resource. There's a lot of people in our workforce development agencies that want to help companies, they want to help individuals find that right mix. Companies are looking for employees. Since being retired, driving around Georgetown, Kentucky, driving around Lexington, driving around some of the rural areas, just going to my son's farm, you see these signs, help wanted on a manufacturer, $29 an hour. And I'm thinking, why aren't people applying for those positions? So having that opportunity to say, let's combine, let's partner with, let's find out what kind of people that you need. We've got our staff that will help you find that right next right employee. It's a challenge, extremely rewarding, and I thank Mason, I thank Bob Swindell. It was a great ride for my last 10 years of work. So now I'm just reworking mowing. Yeah. So if anyone out there needs a mower, just call your old buddy Jack.
Call Jack. Jack, I can't not thank your better half, who thanks to Jan. Jan, if you're watching, thank you for lending us this guy for 2 days. And we've been making you work morning, afternoons, dinners. Last night you had a working dinner.
I did.
Tonight we're going to see some hockey.
Yes.
In the desert. But again, we've really squeezed, I think, a lot of value out of these 2 days. But thanks again to your better half for loaning us here, Jan.
She wants me to come back.
Very good. And then again, Mason, if you want to see some hockey, give us a call. We're waiting for you down here in Las Vegas as well. So
he's a Florida Panther.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. I think so. Or trying to get him off his boat.
Okay.
Now.
Well, Jack, I want to, again, one more time, thank you for your visit, because it's been not just fun for me to see you smiling again, enjoying your retirement, which is well-deserved, but also grateful because one more time you shared the wisdom of those years that you and Mason, produced results for South Florida, and it's going to hopefully help us here in Southern Nevada replicate some of that. So as we finish the podcast, I wanted to give the mic to you to share any final thoughts that this 2-day visit might have generated in you, and say goodbye to our listeners.
Well, it's been an honor to be asked to come back out here. I mean, you and Perry Ursum have become good friends, and it's always good to see you. It's always good to reconnect. It was interesting to meet with some of your staff here, to see what you're doing in Southern Nevada, seeing the support that the local community is giving you as far as your job centers and the first-class facilities that you've got, the opportunities for these companies to have a hiring event in their neighborhood says a lot, because, again, they want to draw the kind of people that are going to come to this specific area. So having that availability is a tremendous opportunity for any companies that want to relocate and expand in Southern Nevada. You guys have done a great job. It's been fun to be with you guys. It was great dinner last night to talk a little bit about permitting with strategic manager and also the former exec for the county.
Yep.
but they're first class people. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It's been fun to be out here. I wish you guys continued success. Anything that I can continue to do somewhere along the way, as Jan says, she wants me out of the house. So call me whenever you can. I'm happy to be here, and I wish you guys just the best.
So I heard you say if there's another invite, you might come back.
It won't take long.
Okay.
I'll check my schedule. It's open.
Very good. Well, thank you, Jack,
You
for this
bet. My
visit.
pleasure.
Give me a fist bump
You
there.
bet.
So
My
good to
pleasure.
see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope you join us at the next one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, Jack, so thank you for staying to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall.
My pleasure. And being a retiree, there's no telling what might come out of my mouth.
Oh, boy.
So fire away.
Let's buckle up. Okay, the first segment is called Your Favorites. Tell me your favorite food.
Hamburger.
Your favorite movie.
Top Gun.
Favorite book.
Together is better.
Favorite subject in school.
PE.
Favorite artist or musical group.
Beatles.
Your favorite holiday.
Christmas.
Your favorite way to relax.
Being on the bad boy mower.
Wow. Well, Jack, we made it through the first segment with no problems. We're going to move into the second one called Tough Choices. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Would you rather vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
More money or more time?
More time.
Live in a big city or live in a small town?
Yeehaw.
Would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
Oh, a favor.
Would you rather cook the meal or clean the kitchen?
Cook the meal.
Here's a hard one, Jack. Justice or grace?
Grace.
Actions or words?
Actions.
All right. Well, you made it flying colors to the second segment. The last one is called Finish the Sentence. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I'm going to give you 90% of the sentence. You're going to finish it for me. If Jack could live anywhere, it would be
In Kentucky.
where you are. Very good. Jack's favorite thing about being retired is?
Being able to play golf out of the backyard.
Wow. The best part about living in Kentucky is?
People are so kind.
If Jack could travel back in time, he would travel to?
Bermuda.
And the one thing that Jack will never regret is?
Working for Career Source Broward and the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance.
Wow, that's a big shout out to Mason and Bob.
Yes,
Very
it
good.
is.
We're going to get them this link so they can see that. 3 words that describe Jack are?
Enthusiastic, happy, relaxed.
I couldn't agree more. And doing the WC podcast here with us today, Jack, was?
Incredible.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing the podcast.